Hey, everybody, it's Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the Sunday edition of Today in Sports Betting. Usually a day we don't do, Scott. I mean, well, of course we do when it's NFL season, but we're able to tape that on Friday night because, we know who's playing. But this is a little bit different as we kind of had to adjust on the fly and do a snap cap for everything. So I'm excited to get to it. There's been some big upset so far. We've had a 15 knockoff a deuce. We just watched a 14 knockoff a 3 in the Battle of Texas. So, yeah, what's been the obviously, I mean, you have to say the Ohio State's probably been the biggest surprise, but what's been some other big surprises there for you?
Well, I really think that one general trend that I have noticed with regard to just some teams, I remember when big men used to actually be valuable. I feel like you're going through these teams and you have Texas, you have Ohio State is pretty good at rebounding as well. You go down the line, and I'm looking at some of these teams like Purdue, for example.
Yeah, there's a great example. Somebody we backed yesterday.
And you're looking at these teams. I had North Texas in the actual pick'em thing, but in the contest. But anyway, just going through the line, you're looking at these teams, and you assume, oh, they're going to dominate on the boards and they're going to win the game. And you're looking at some of these teams, and I know that the NBA has started to shift more from a center to a guard based on how to build your team. What's the basis of that? College basketball is kind of the same way, where you can talk about the size differential and how that matters. Same thing with Texas. Bunch of big men, guards turn the ball over. What, they have 22 turnovers or something like that in that game? I think they couldn't hold on to the ball. So I think that the point I'm trying to say is that the one thing that kind of stands out to me is that backcourts are the future. And
who are you talking about?
Texas had like 22 turnovers.
Oh, tonight, yeah. 22 turnovers tonight for the Longhorns, yeah.
It's not because of the big men.
I thought we were still talking about Purdue. Oh, yeah. No, that was inferior guard play for sure.
So the point that I'm trying to say is that people can talk about how, size matters, and to some degree it might for athleticism purposes, but I really just think the backcourts are just like the most important part of March Madness, and a lot of people don't feel that way. But it's
junior guards, junior and senior guards, buddy.
Now you have some limitations though, because for example, with the Liberty Oklahoma State game, you just have some guards who just don't have the athleticism to actually compete with the others. But people look at centers and people look at big men. Look at the guards more, because those really are what determines which teams pull off the upsets and which teams don't.
Well, it certainly was. It certainly was yesterday, especially as Purdue. I thought Williams, I mean, you look at his stat line, he had a double-double. It was fine, but man, he when he really needed to get a board or when he really needed to make a shot, he was pretty well dominated. I thought Bell did a pretty good job on Williams.
He did. But you looked over and you thought Edey and Williams would probably have, combined 20-something rebounds between the two of them.
Edey, remember him? I remember when he used to play. He played 15 minutes and it might have been about 12 minutes too long because he sucked. He had three rebounds, no points, 1 assist, 2 blocks.
But I'm trying to say that you can compare that to what happened with Texas as well and talk about how you have Jones, you have Sims, you have a very, very solid front court. I know Jones made the big 3-pointer. I know that Rami had the lip cut open, so he wasn't there for the last couple of minutes. But 22 turnovers, man. I mean, the guards, if they're going to struggle, your team's probably going to lose. I think Lofton St. Bonaventure went 1 for 15 to start the game or something, and they got killed. It just happens,
Yep, it does. And it was I haven't liked this Texas team. We've talked about it a lot this season. I know that Texas was the darlings of the Big 12 there late in the year. I just never liked them. I just didn't think they had the guard play, and lo and behold, there it was tonight. And they're always a team that's going to turn the ball over a little bit, but man, 22 turnovers. I think that was their high for the season, and they certainly
was. I mean, Abilene. I took Abilene Christian in the under for the contest because I saw that Abilene Christian forces the most turnovers in the entire country.
Yep.
So I kind of just saw it coming. But at the end of the day, I thought Texas would win. I didn't think they were going to lose the game, but I thought it would be by 3 or something like that. Now, I feel like since we're talking about the game, we have to talk about 2 quick things before we end up going into the 2 games we're going to talk about for Sunday. Both involving Texas. First question, did you think it was a foul?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I thought it was. I know that people – sorry, you can –
I'm not sure, but I'm not positive it was a shooting foul. I mean,
I thought it was on the floor.
Yeah, that's I would and he was shooting by their posture. I'm sure he was shooting two, right? He wasn't
He
shooting
was
one.
shooting two. It, of course, didn't matter because he made both in the end. You could argue the pressure level is different when you get 1-and-1 instead of two. He didn't even have the ball in his hand, and the guy grabs the other hand. I thought it was a loose ball foul for the rebound,
Yeah.
but that's what I thought it was.
Yep.
But people are talking about, oh, there's blood on the court. You can't call the foul. I'm like, he's trying to go up with the ball. He can only use one hand because the guy's grabbing his other. Of course, it's a foul. What kind of question is that?
Yeah, it's like you can't call pass interference on the last minute of the game. That's bullshit too.
If you tackle the guy, you tackle the guy.
Yeah,
I'm not. Of course, you don't want a game decided by that because the game was very physical the whole way through. But when you're going for a rebound, for a shot to win the game, and you allow people to tackle you,
yeah,
it kind of defeats the purpose. So I understand that people like the refs to swallow their whistles. I understand that to some degree on touchy fouls. He's completely just hooking his arm. I don't know how you wouldn't call that. Like if that was missed, people would complain about it too.
Totally agree. Totally.
That was the first thing. The second thing, Shaka Smart. I feel like we got to talk about this briefly. He won the conference title for the first time in Texas's history.
Yeah.
He's 0-for in the tournament with Texas.
Yeah.
Do you think he comes back or do you think he's fired?
That's a great question. I'd have to know. I'd have to know his contract status, although, in Texas, that doesn't really matter. They'll buy him out. They get three alumni together to pay the $30 million or whatever his buyout is. But no, I can't. You can't fire the coach because no, you just can't do it.
Just saying, he's 0-for.
Yeah, I know, and I know
some people on Twitter are trying to claim he's going to accept the Marquette job this time next week, which made me laugh.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
But
that's a couple steps back.
I think they're going to keep him because
I agree.
He's still recruiting well. They still won the conference. I know that the team fell apart, but at the end of the day, you can't win them all. Plus, with the eligibility stuff, you might be able to bring a decent amount of the roster back. And if you end up switching coaches, a decent amount of them might transfer. Like I saw in Minnesota, I know we both hate Pitino as a coach, not the Iona one because he's good, but the Minnesota one who got fired and he left. And then Marcus Carr transferred today because he only went there for Pitino. So if you end up getting rid of your coach, there's a decent amount of your players that might jump ship. And
yeah, there's some ripples to be sure. You've got not only the guys that are already there, but you've got guys that you've been recruiting, guys you've got your eyes on, guys you've reached out to, so.
I think Smart will be back, but I do think one more year of losing in the first round, he's probably gone.
So are you trying to put it out there then that he's a bad coach?
I am bringing up the discussion that Texas might overreact or might properly react. I'm simply asking just the question because a lot of people are calling for Shaka Smart's head after the game. I know, of course, it's an immediate hot take reaction, but I was curious what your thoughts are on it because on one hand, you won the conference. On the other hand, you lost in the first round again. So I'm curious where you stand on what you think of Shaka Smart.
Yeah, no, I think you keep him for one more year. I think, I also think that you're going to get more of a pass in the COVID year than you would in a normal year. So
the only thing I know is that it's kind of funny how quickly people's perception of Shaka Smart changed over the course of about 10 years. He was this up and coming guy, made the Final Four with VCU in a Cinderella story. And now he's a coach that nobody wants in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy how that works, isn't it?
Well, those guys, they climb the ladder and some of them fall off.
There's been stranger situations. I don't even think Kevin Ollie's employed anymore. He won a championship in his first year.
Yeah.
So I'm actually curious what happened to Kevin Ollie anyway.
Tough crowd.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Anyway, sorry, I just thought that we're talking about because the Texas game ended like 2 hours ago.
Yep. So we're locked and loaded for tomorrow. We've got all our picks together. I haven't seen the updated standings on who's winning our battle here. But
I had a huge day yesterday, so I'm in the green.
Okay, well that's good. Totals are killing me.
I don't blame you.
My sides are fine, but doing the totals, I'm just not doing well on the totals at all. So I know we're firing it up again. You can do the special over there. You go to check out the Winners and Winers page. Check out our special page that we have for our Madness contest. Me, Scott, and Dave the Dominator, all doing our best picks. You can have one of us for $99. You can have three of us for $1.89, and that's going to get you all the picks through the next 2 rounds. So make sure you check that out over there at Winners and Winers. Oh, Scott, we got 8 games for tomorrow. My wife wanted to know what happens to the poor kids at VCU.
Well, it's a great question. For the sake of the contest, I graded both of those as pushes, by the way, because I'm not a cheater. So, just kidding.
It's no action, so yeah.
Yeah, it's no action. I know. A push, no action, whatever, same thing. But either way, it's a shame it had to happen. You knew it was going to happen at some point. I know that the point of the bubble is to prevent any of that from occurring. Were you surprised that it happened? Because I really wasn't.
No, especially it seems like they kind of maybe brought it to the bubble because they had some issues last weekend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's
not exactly the greatest, protocol job by VCU there, but whatever.
Happens.
Could have been Louisville.
I got my second shot today, by the way, Scott.
How'd that go? Do you feel like impervious to pain now?
I feel impervious to that pain. My arm doesn't even hurt. It didn't feel it going in, and so far so good, man. I know that some people have had some issues with the second one, but
when you have superpowers, let me know.
Apparently I do, because I have no effects from this shot whatsoever. He said, knocking on wood. The only effect I had was another 2.5 hour drive to get it.
So, when you were in the car, were you listening to the games on the radio, or what exactly was your plan?
I was watching them on my phone
while you were driving.
I wasn't driving; my daughter drove.
I was joking, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, no. Although when I was on the road doing stand up, and I'd be like up in the long stretches, like in Kansas, Wyoming, Montana, I would read a book while I was driving.
Nice.
So I just put it up on my steering wheel and drive. But no, dude, I'm down to about half a good eye. So I don't. If I have an option for somebody to drive, they usually drive.
Okay.
So I can still do it, but it's silly to have not the person that's not the best driver at the wheel with other people in the car. So
makes sense.
All right, buddy. So let's take a look at a couple games tomorrow. Like I said, we got plays on every game. So obviously we're going to be giving you some premium content right here. We're going to take a look at a couple games and start off with the Mean Green, buddy. The Mean Green of North Texas taking on Villanova, and a couple of teams that maybe not everybody thought they were going to be there. Is that fair? Is that fair to say?
Well, I know that a lot of people had Purdue. I know both of us told everyone about a week and a half ago that, or about a week ago exactly, because the Selection Sunday was last week, that Villanova was a little bit of a trap there for the first round against Winthrop, and we weren't biting. And it turns out we were right about that one.
Yep, we were right about that. Absolutely wrong about Purdue, though, man. I liked the Boilermakers there. I thought the size would dominate, and I didn't know Bell would be able to do such a good job and that Edey would disappear. So
I remember I chopped that game in the contest because I had North Texas, but I also had the under, and it went to overtime, and that's where unders go to die. So I chopped that one. But I thought Purdue would win. I thought it would be close, but I thought they'd win by like 4 or so. But either way, yep, now we have ourselves a very nice 5-14 matchup. So you got any thoughts on this one?
I think you and I are going to land on different sides. I'm going to switch horses, so to speak, and I'm going to fade Villanova here. I like what this Mean Green team brings to the table. I like the way they shoot the ball. They're a good shooting team from deep. They can make their free throws. They don't turn the ball over a ton. They've got some solid guard play, and they've got some decent size. As we saw, we've got some guys that can play a little bigger than their actual size. They're not going to get lost in the middle. I think that they are able to hang with Villanova here. I don't know if they're going to get the win or not, but I think that 6.5 is a little too strong. I think this should be closer to 3.5 or 4.
Well, looking at the numbers here, I agree it's 6.5. I would probably look to North Texas. However, it has gone down to 5.5 in pretty much every spot right now, as there has already been a decent amount of money on North Texas. Having said all that, I'm going with Nova. It's one of those spots where I watched a decent amount of the North Texas game. What really jumped off the page to me wasn't even just how North Texas was fearless in the process. It was just that Purdue's guards were terrible. They couldn't really do anything. Villanova, I just think even with Gillespie out, definitely looked like it came into form in the second half against Winthrop. I know Winthrop didn't play anybody all year. I know they ran out of gas, but Villanova seemed to finally get itself under control a little bit. We talked about in the Big East tournament how it should have beaten Georgetown before falling apart in the second half. I think North Texas will keep it close for a half, but I think Villanova has a little bit of another gear that Purdue doesn't have, especially from the guard play. And I think North Texas will struggle. Plus, I'm not sure how much fatigue is going to play a factor because they had a day off in between, but North Texas did go to overtime. So I am kind of curious if they might come out a little bit lethargic here. Maybe not, because these kids are about 19 years old, but I'm kind of curious if you think that'll play a factor at all.
I can't get behind that this
I'm just throwing it out there.
I know, I get it, but I just can't believe an extra 5 minutes is going to make that much big of a difference. I just without Gillespie, I think this turns into a different kind of game. I think with Gillespie, I'd be with you on the Villanova train. Yeah, they did a nice job against Winthrop, and you and I talked about Winthrop probably being a little bit overrated there.
They didn't play anybody, so we just
that's the problem. And then it's not their fault. They obviously, a lot of those mid majors or even small colleges didn't play any out of conference team. So
they did, but they just played Greensboro and a couple other teams, but still.
Well, yeah, I mean it varies. A lot of them played teams that were like their lessers.
Yeah.
They'd sneak in Our Lady of the Lakes, man. That team, I don't know if they have their own jet or whatever, but that team played everybody.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they got paid to play everybody.
I guarantee you, they could probably pay for their new jet now. So yeah, you and I are on different sides of this one. I'm Robinson Earl, he's a handful. He really is, and he's what gives me pause about this. But I like what Bell brings to the table, man.
Bell and Simmons are pretty good.
What's up, Bell and Simmons? You're right. That's a nice 1-2 punch. And like I said, Bell being only 6'6", he plays bigger than that. Would you agree?
Yeah, they definitely seem like they have. I'm trying to think of a good comparison for him. Kind of like a Jordan Bellish type of. I trying to think if that's a good comparison. It's not really.
Yeah, because he's not a big scorer. He's not a guy that's gonna, pour in 20 points and bring down 20 and bring down 10.
Jordan Bell though was like a great athlete when he was at Oregon. So I'm trying to think of a good comparison, but I think we're trying to say the underside, like for example the Abilene Christian center, who looked like he was 6'7", but he was like 300 pounds, so you couldn't really move him. Like it's not about height; it's also just about how
leverage, baby,
are to embrace contact.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
I mean, that's how I would describe it. I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank. I can't really think of a good comparison right now.
By the way, speaking of Abilene Christian, does the Southland get a little more credit now?
I think they should.
Because I know you were on Stephen F. Austin a couple of games. Nichols ended up winning that conference.
I was on Stephen F. Austin for a couple games, and then they had a postseason ban, so they weren't even in the tournament.
Right.
But I thought that they were going to go down to the wire. They played a buzzer beater against Abilene, which Abilene won. But I was all in on the Southland Conference for months, and people probably know why now because Abilene's really, really good.
They play good. They play good ball down there in Texas. You got to remember, Texas is a huge state, and Texas Tech and Texas, they're not going to get everybody. So if it comes down,
even Texas Southern, even Texas Southern, A&M as well. Even though A&M's
well, what I'm saying though, so if you can't play for Texas, and if you can't play for Tech, so do you want to ride the pine at TCU, or do you want to start at North Texas?
So I'm saying you can go down the line. I don't think any people would really be picking Abilene Christian or SF Austin if they had the choice. I think they picked, of course, Texas A&M before them, and A&M's terrible.
So I don't agree. So that's the thing. If you're going to start, if you're going to be,
I'm not saying what I would do. I'm saying what most prospects would do. They would choose to go to the big school.
I don't think so. I think they want to play, man. I think if you're going to start, you're going to play as a freshman. You're going to start as a sophomore, as opposed to going to one of the Power 5 conferences and sitting the bench for 2 years at A&M, sitting on the bench for 2 years at TCU, and not winning anyway.
I'm trying to think of how realistic that statement is anymore, though, because you have so many of the minor schools who have senior backcourt. So if you are a freshman on those teams, you probably will be waiting for a couple of years. Or if you look at some other big schools, a lot of the prospects leave early.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
might actually
Oh,
get
that's
plenty
very,
of time
that's
to do it.
true. Let me ask you this. What have you done in your life to compare with the pressure of knocking down 2 free throws when you're 1 point down with 1.2 seconds left? What's the most pressure packed situation you've ever experienced?
I made 2 free throws in a camp championship game.
No.
We were up 4, and I think I moved it to 6 with like 5 seconds to go, I think.
It doesn't even have to be. It doesn't even have to
be.
be athletic. Have you ever like given a speech or a presentation or anything where you felt the pressure, a job interview?
Yeah, I mean, of course, and anybody for job interviews knows the feeling of saying the wrong thing or being asked a question you weren't expecting. But yeah, I don't think anything compares to hitting free throws in front of thousands of people, knowing that this is the best chance your program has of getting its most signature win in the history of the program.
Yeah, it's for a 19, 20-year-old kid.
That's a lot.
That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable. By the way, this 3-year anniversary, I know I talked about this before. The best college basketball game I ever saw was an NAIA championship game. With Graceland University won the title. My daughter was a cheerleader, and the cheerleaders are sitting underneath the basket. It goes to overtime, and the kid hits a 3-point buzzer beater literally as time expires while the ball's in the air. Just fantastic moment. About 5,000, 6,000 people there. Actually made Sports Center. So
nice.
But that was unbelievable. I think I've done a couple of things athletic. I think probably throwing the 10th frame. First time I threw 300.
I didn't even know you bowled a 300.
I've got a few. But the first one, yeah, you walk up there and you throw that 12th shot. In the whole bowling alley, 32 lanes are just nobody's bowling.
Did it feel good off the wrist?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I knew it was right in the door. I knew it was right in the door when I threw it.
Cool.
Yeah. And then I playing a couple times. I played in front of 500 people playing table tennis there at the Nationals when I got to the semis one year. So I mean, it's nothing equates to that. Not knowing, those are minor things compared to knowing millions of people are watching. It's going to be the biggest win in school history.
I gave you the basketball equivalency of my career, which was making 2 half garbage time ice free throws in a title game.
Well, that's way ahead of any basketball memory that I have.
Fair enough.
I can remember puking as I run gassers. That's my fondest basketball memory. So
fair enough.
All right. So you and I are splitting the difference here, and we are agreeing to disagree, as they say. I've got the mean green plus 5.5. Yeah, I had that Baylor number transfer. This opened at 5. It's gone to 5.5. So
we might agree on the total, but we're keeping that a secret. I don't know what you have, and you don't know what I have. So we're going to find out tomorrow.
I don't, but judging on how my totals went today, it's probably wrong. No, I'm not. You know what? That's not true. I'll just say I did much better on sides than I did on totals today. It wasn't my day for totals. Everything.
I felt that in day one.
Yeah, it happened. So, let's go on to the other one. What do you?
Rutgers, Houston.
Yeah, let's do that. We debated which one to talk about, but there's a couple things going on, a couple dynamics happening here in this Rutgers Houston game. This is Houston -8. I've got it at it's starting to sneak down to 7.5 a little bit. Opened up at 8.5. And been some Rutgers money coming at East Coast money, laying it in there in New Jersey. You agree with that line move, Scott?
Well, a lot of it's going to be injury related, which we'll get into in a second. When it comes to the matchup here, Houston did win its first game by 31 against Cleveland State. I know Cleveland State's not very good. Houston looked so good in that game. Houston looked ridiculous for pretty much the entire way. It was just an absolute destruction. Rutgers, I watched against Clemson. I actually watched a decent amount of that game. Rutgers tried to blow it pretty badly late. I think they were up 10 with about 5 to go, and then didn't score for the next about 4 minutes.
Yeah.
They ended up winning. So props to Rutgers for winning a tournament game, everything like that. Now looking at the actual matchup here, both teams actually have some injury concerns. Houston is likely going to be without one of its best players in Dejan Giroux, who ended up injuring his hip in roughly the first minute against Cleveland State. You wouldn't have noticed because they won by 31 anyway. But you have Rutgers, who ended up suffering an injury to their starting center, Miles Johnson, who suffered an ankle injury. He looked pretty bad in the last, I'd say, 4 minutes of the game, where he completely rolled it, couldn't really move it, and they had to put him on the bench as a result. So they're both questionable. Giroux's doubtful, so I don't think he's going to go. I don't even think Johnson's going to go, if I'm being honest. But for this matchup here, I think it's mostly injury related why the line has moved. Having said that, I love this Houston team. I mean, just looking through the actual line here, this Houston team I just think is so good. I got to go with Houston. The one thing that Houston has an issue with is fouling because they play a very, very aggressive trap-heavy style defense.
Right.
And of course, that results in a ton of fouling. However, Rutgers is the worst free throw shooting team in the entire country. So if you're giving up some free throws, it's actually not the end of the world. So I think Rutgers might be bricking a bunch of shots from the foul line, and Houston can rebound the ball really, really well. And with Johnson out, you might have a potentially short rotation amongst the front court. I think Houston's going to clean up on the boards. I like Houston. I think this game could be close for a little while. I understand why money has come in because of injury news. I just think Houston's on another level. And Rutgers, despite beating Clemson, I don't think too highly of Clemson. And Rutgers struggled for the entire game. So I am going to go with Houston here. I think Houston should win this game by double digits.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. You and I are going to agree on this. Maybe we're making a mistake not giving enough credit to the middle feeders there in the Big Ten. You know, Maryland had a big game today. That came out of nowhere.
Wisconsin yesterday.
Wisconsin had a very good game there against North Carolina. Never trailed. They were just dominated that entire game. That was, I think, surprising to both of us.
Mm-hmm. With Roy Williams never losing a first round game before, I was a bit surprised.
Yeah, and especially the way it went down.
It was a beatdown. It was a beatdown.
Two teams I haven't liked at all this season: Wisconsin and Maryland. I hated this Maryland team. They've done nothing in my eyes.
They beat Michigan State twice.
That's like I said, they beat Michigan State. I was trying to think of any other wins they have, but I think that's going to be it. I didn't see it coming, so I know there's some smarter people out there than I that did, but that was So, maybe this Rutgers team fits in there. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here. You and I think both have this Houston team going a long ways in the tournament.
I do want to monitor Drew's status moving forward. Because
yes.
I know, but at the end of the day, I've seen Rutgers play a decent amount because I do follow the Big Ten. Rutgers is pretty good, but the free throw shooting is really a problem. And if you actually look at the guards, especially against Houston, who has a very, very just an elite three-point defense, I think Rutgers is going to struggle chucking up a bunch of threes. And I just think Houston will push it a little bit. And I think that they are going to just absolutely hound the boards. And I like Houston to dominate the rebounding battle.
And I will say, even without Giroux in there, they still only turned the ball over 9 times. And
you wouldn't have noticed Giroux was injured if you didn't watch the game because they killed him. They killed him anyway.
They had 12 assists. Yeah, they kind of spread it out there between Mark Sneed and Tyson. Mm-hmm. All got their reps. I think Mark mainly ran the point.
I know the talent disparity was noticeable from the get-go, but they all looked really good.
Yeah, that's a hell of a team, and everybody's talking about Gonzaga, and everybody's talking about Baylor, and everybody's talking about Illinois.
I'll tell you what, by the way, since I brought up Shaka Smart potentially being fired earlier in the show, you think Kelvin Sampson's a decent option there as a potential replacement? Do you think he would even take that job? I think he's a great coach. I know he had some issues with recruiting at Indiana. Shocker. You had a top program that had an issue with, paying recruits. Who would have thought? But he was great at Indiana, got Eric Gordon there, ended up getting thrown out, went to Houston. He's been great.
Why do you?
I think he's one of the most underrated coaches in the country. God,
why do you need the headaches? You can be the kingfish in a medium pond, or you can go down there and fear for your job every day after the first year and have to deal with all the Texas alums and everything. I'm
assuming you would agree though that Kelvin Sampson would be a massive upgrade over Shaka.
Over Shaka Smart?
Yeah. I'm assuming you'd agree that's an upgrade.
Yeah, I think he's reestablished himself as one of the top coaches in the business. He kind of ran out of Oklahoma and then had some problems in Indiana, but he's certainly done it at Houston. Whether he still runs a clean program or not, I don't know.
I can understand why Iona got Pitino. Tell you that much, they made the tournament.
Yeah.
So, I feel like sometimes you got to sacrifice some baggage for actually creating a winning culture. And Houston was put on the map by Kelvin Sampson, and they have a 2 seed.
Well, that's not exactly right.
Okay, well, I'll rephrase. I'll say nobody thought Houston was going to be a top 10 team for multiple seasons under Kelvin Sampson.
Okay. Yeah, it wasn't like this isn't North Texas.
I don't mean on the
Houston
map.
had a pretty good run.
I don't mean like hovering around the 25th ranking. I mean top 10 2 seed in the tournament.
No, I know.
So from that perspective, Kelvin Sampson brought Houston into, I don't say the upper echelon, but definitely higher up on the college basketball power ranking.
Well, and they built that new arena down there, and the Cougars have been just monsters at home. Mm-hmm. Just I know at one point last year they were undefeated at home. I think they finally did take an L, but man, they were just automatic covers there in the arena. I know they
will bet on them in conference play all the time.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, that's solid money. That's just a blind play right there, buddy.
Yeah, but I like Houston here.
Me too.
I really just think that this team's on another level.
Yep, even without Giroux, I think we're okay.
I am curious though if he will miss next game because you might have a matchup either against Syracuse or West Virginia.
Yep.
And I think West Virginia could give you some problems if you don't have Giroux.
Well,
I think both those teams give you problems if you don't have Giroux.
Yeah, yes, I think. Well, although this is a Rutgers team where you're going to need some guard play. You're not going to be able to. It ain't Cleveland State.
Yep, definitely true.
So, but I think they've got the depth at the guard certainly to take care of business in this one. We'll see what happens. Do we have the same schedule next week? Is it Friday through Monday again?
I believe so.
We're not back to Thursday through Saturday, are we?
No, we got to cover NBA during then.
No. The tournament.
No, I know. I'm joking. Yes, I believe that's the schedule we're running.
NASCAR? Did somebody say NASCAR?
NASCAR. Nice.
All right, bud. So as always, if you're looking for more information on these games or any others, looking for a second opinion, don't forget to stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com, the number one site in the world for predictive sports analysis. Over 100 people from, I always screw this up. People from over 150. I always want to say 150 countries. People from over 150 countries go to Winners and Whiners each and every day to get the latest information on the plays, and they're updated all the time. It's not just one of those places where they put it up on Tuesday and forget about it. They update it as far as injuries go, and they're constantly working it and putting in the latest information. So make sure you stop by and check out winnersandwhiners.com. Check out our contest that we're doing over there, where you can tail your favorite capper and get his best picks. And of course, we wish you guys nothing but the best here on Sunday, first day of round 2. Hope every one of those tickets in your pocket turns into cash money back there at the window. You guys have a great day. And for myself, for Scott Reichel, for all of us at Winners and Whiners, we'll see you next time on Today in Sports Betting. Peace.